I know I always start this kind of video with the words I'm nervous, but I am. I'm nervous as always. Okay. I don't really... I think that's just... Okay. Yeah, we can... Must we really look like some sort of fallen angel? It's really not necessary. Stop. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name's Acacia. So, quick announcement before we continue. I'm going to be posting a video tomorrow because this one's going to be a little more serious. Tomorrow's going to be super funny and goobery, and it's going to be a video with me and T, where T is going to, I'm going to pick some books for T, or I have picked some books for T, and she is going to tell you the synopsis based on what the cover is. She has no idea what the books are or their synopsis or anything, so it was really fun to film, and it was really goofy and goobery, but it ended up being 45 minutes long, and I told you guys I don't know how to use my editing software anymore right now, but also I went through it, and there were two switches, so there were 2 times where I switched parts to alters, which you guys have asked me to leave in, so I have. And then the other thing is, it was just a really genuine video of the two of us just interacting and hanging out and just being sisters. And I know you guys really seem to enjoy seeing parts of my life that are honest and depicted as honestly as possible. So I left it all in, and I'm going to upload it. But I'm letting you guys know ahead of time, when you watch tomorrow's video, grab a cup of tea or coffee or something and get ready to... I don't know if you're all going to think we're as funny as she does, but she thinks we're pretty funny. I'll let her have it. All right, so... Whew, guys, I'm nervous. Okay. It's been a long journey for me. With my relationship and food. It's been a long journey. I'm nowhere near recovered, and I'm okay with that. But I'm going to say right here, right now, trigger warnings for people suffering with eating disorders. If you watch this, I'm not going to really go too far into detail, but I am going to discuss some darker topics, and it could trigger you, so please be aware of yourself, and don't feel like you have to watch this. I just really want to be open with you guys and honest about everything I'm dealing with and everything I'm coping with my mental health, because 1, it's what you guys have asked for, and 2, it's what I promised you guys from the beginning, and I don't want to start hiding things, and I don't want to try and act like things aren't there. So I've opened up a few times about basic things that I go through on a day-to-day basis. And one of the things that's really complicated for me, first and foremost, is just everyday occurrences. So getting up, getting dressed, showering, and eating. Those 4 things that are not easy for everybody by any means, but there's certain aspects of things that people can predict that I don't have the ability to predict. So, for example, I'm going to talk about my relationship with food today, starting from the first time that I started to suffer from an eating disorder to now, when I have 3 separate eating disorders in different alters and myself. The first time I was called fat, I was 8, and I was 8 years old at a Girl Scout thing, and we all went to McDonald's, and I ordered nuggets and fries, and I think I ordered a burger as well. I ordered more than the other girls, but I was hungry, and I wanted to eat. So I sat down, I got ready to eat. I put 1 French fry in my mouth, and one of the girls looked over at me and was like, "Do you really need that?" And I was like, "What?" And I remember in my little brain being confused because I didn't understand what kind of question that was, because I was like, yeah, I need food. I don't understand. And she goes, I mean, you're already pretty fat. Huh. Huh. That was the first time I binged and purged. I took my McDonald's meal, I went and sat in the McDonald's bathroom, and I ate all of it as fast as I could, and then I purged. Where the adults were in this situation, I to this day don't know, because I ask myself that a lot now when I look back at some of the situations that I got into with bullies. And I'm really curious where the adults were in these situations, but as I was told by many adults in my life, I wasn't enough of a problem to really cause awareness. So, like, I didn't yell or scream or kick or cry or do anything that they could really see as a call for help, so I didn't get help. Everything I did was silent and weird, and writing a poem that got found by the school director, and being told to go to the night. That's a different story. Anyway, so that was the first time, and I continued to binge and purge for about a month. On and off, but I started to disassociate is the right word, because that's what I did. I formulated a one singular person or part. One of my parts is based around my binging and purging, and that's what she does. She binges and purges when we feel attack on our physical form. So I started to disassociate from the binging and purging and stopped remembering it. So the last time I remember doing it, I was about 8.5, maybe 9 at that point. And that was the last time I remembered it. And it wasn't until more recently that I started realizing that it was something I was still doing. And then the anorexia began when I was about, I want to say 12 or 13. And it was full-blown anorexia for about 6 to 10 weeks. The only thing that was going into my system was water. It took a while for the adults to notice, because I was a chubbier kid. I wasn't losing weight very quickly, and I was just getting really cranky and really upset, and I was able to hide it pretty well. I got pretty good at hiding that I wasn't eating. But then that became a disassociated state as well. And that took on a life of its own and a part of its own. Which became a systematic form of self-mutilation in and of itself. I would only starve myself when I thought it was necessary. And there's two parts of self that will starve me. One of them is Anna, who is a young girl who goes by the name Antoinette, which is the maiden name of Bertha from Jane Eyre. And she calls herself Antoinette, and she will only have liquid diets, but she'll only have liquid diets for about as much as she can control. Before I became aware of the system and the parts, she would do it more frequently, and it would become more problematic. And I would get really cranky and angry and scared because I wouldn't know why I was so upset, but every time a meal would come up, I would forget whether or not I'd eaten, and I couldn't remember, so I would just not eat again because I thought I must have eaten. And that's one of the reasons that over the years I've become really strongly connected to having a memory around days by what I ate. It became a security blanket. If I could remember a meal, it meant that I'd eaten, and it meant that I wasn't missing something, because I started to realize that I was missing meals, but I couldn't figure out how, and I couldn't figure out why. So I started just remembering everything I was eating constantly, and it became a real stressor for me, and I constantly wanted to know when the next meal was, what we were having, like, it got to the point where it's still at that point, actually, where if I don't know what I'm eating next, I actually get really upset. And that really bothers me, but I'm working on it. So that happened on and off until I was 15. And then when I hit 15 years old, I was at the hippie school. Stupid hippie school. And I had begun to be pretty badly verbally abused by the hippie crew. And it got to the point where the school was all really angsty and frustrated and angry with everybody, and everybody was just being nasty. And the school director, so in this hippie school, it was run by one woman, and that woman decided we would have school meetings where everyone, because it was about 50 of us for the whole school, and we would all sit in this big room. It wasn't an auditorium, it was just like a big room. And we'd have Monday meetings every single Monday, and we'd all sit down and talk about all the problems that were going on in the school. And let me tell you, by the time this whole thing occurred, I was over it. I didn't care. I didn't want to be there. I hated that school. I hated my life. I wanted it to end. I was destroyed. I was self-mutilating at that point, physically, and I hadn't begun yet, but within 2 days after that, this current event, I began binging and purging pretty bad, and within my own control. And then I also began to lie about having stomach aches and vomiting so that I wouldn't have to eat. So as a conscious decision of myself, I was having stomach aches, and I wasn't functioning, and I basically just stopped eating as much as I could, because as long as I wasn't eating, I didn't have to go to school, because I was too weak and I couldn't do anything. So, and I could also sleep through the class. But anyway, the school director, we were all sitting in this meeting, and she was yelling at everybody about how this school was no longer a community. And then she physically pointed at me and said, "She doesn't feel safe here." And I remember everybody looking at me and wanting to just sink into a black hole. And I don't remember the rest of the day. I don't remember until the next time that I came forward as myself, which was 2 or 3 days later. I remember being very hungry, very scared, and this is a trigger warning for those who have done self-mutilation. I had cut marks all over my under chest and my thighs. Those were my spaces of self-harm. And so, I mean, you can imagine what it's like to lose track of 2 or 3 days of your life, come back, be hungry, and be covered in cuts. And just know that the entire school hates you, and they're making it very clear with threats and emails that are threatening and phone calls that are threatening, and people are telling you they hate you in the hallway and that you suck and you're a whore. 'Cause, every 15-year-old girl needs to have that experience. And so it just kind of continued to go from there. And by the time I got a hold of my situation, I'd gone from a size 16 to a size 10, and I was 130 pounds, which is the least I've ever weighed in my life. And I began to wear boys' pants, oversized hoodies, anything to hide anything, because I had my chest was still a larger cup than I would have imagined it wanting to be. So I still had a very large bust, and all I knew was that I had to hide that, and I had to hide it fast. So I started wearing the baggiest clothes I could get my hands on, so that I could avoid letting people see that, because the skinnier I was, the more predominant my chest was. So I started panicking, and I started to binge, and I didn't purge. I just started to binge, and I would spend all day not eating. I would wake up, I wouldn't eat. I would go to school, I wouldn't eat. I would come home, I wouldn't eat, and then at the middle of the night I would go downstairs and I would binge on ice cream or cookies or whatever I could find that was junky to try and gain weight back. Didn't work, didn't really help, really made everything worse. The stomach problems got really bad. Everything was just terrifying and awful, and I hated myself. I hated my body. I hated my life. Oh, it was bad. It was awful. Around this time, some girls in my class, some girls in my school, I should say, I think it was around then, I don't know. I'll be honest, that whole year, once that moment where she pointed at me and said she doesn't feel safe, and then days I would go to school and have memory of it, I would be threatened. It becomes very, very cloudy and scary and dark, and I have very little memory of it that like a day-to-day situation should have. I think most people when they're 15 have at least a kind of slightly concrete memory of like a day-to-day life. I don't have that. And I don't really remember it being a problem. So, well, let me rephrase that. I don't remember the problems because I would only, like, I remember being threatened. I remember binging and purging. I remember not purging. I remember just binging. I remember not eating. But then I would have weeks or months where I would just lose track and I wouldn't know what was happening, and I would come back and people would be mad at me or be calling me weird or crazy or fucked up or anything like that. Like, around that time, my school, I was at a class and we went on a field trip, and it was an overnight, and so we were gone for about a week. We were in a marine biology sort of class or something, so we went to an island, and I talk in my sleep when I don't take sleeping pills because my body won't go to sleep and my parts won't go to sleep, so they'll talk in the night. And I can't do anything to control it because, well, they don't do it now, but before I knew about them, that was when they saw the opportunity to come out and be social. So if there was someone sleeping next to us, they would talk. And you could have a conversation with them. And so the kids that were in that class with me, one of them I thought was a really good friend of mine. A couple of them I thought were friends. They asked me questions about how I felt about the school and the students and the teachers. And they wrote everything down. And when we got back to school, they made photocopies and posted it everywhere. Handed out copies. I had no idea that the thing they were doing was even about me. I didn't know. I also wasn't cool enough at the time to know about this transcript that was going around of some loser talking in their sleep. Anyway, things just got worse from there, and I don't remember much else. So anyway, fast forward, and I got to 18, and I was at a all-girls Catholic school. I was pretty happy, and I started feeling safe in my own person. And when I started having that mysterious pain in my pelvis that I was telling you guys about, and I was going to doctors, and I thought I was just trying to get out of school. I couldn't walk. I was eating constantly because I then was diagnosed with mono, and I would sleep and eat, sleep and eat, sleep and eat, sleep and eat, and then go to school in the middle. So I went up to like 250 pounds. Um, 3 months into the whole thing of me having mono, I came out about the sexual assault, so here I am, 250 pounds, telling people about a rape that happened 5 years prior. My, at the time, friend, quote unquote, I was half living with her, half living at home, and I was told by her and her mother that the rape didn't define me and I was going to overcome it, and that I shouldn't let it define me as a person. You don't tell a person who just came out about a rape not to let the rape define them, because even if they don't want to let the rape define them, even if they don't intend to, you need to let them feel how they want to feel. You need to let them grieve the loss. I had to grieve the loss of my childhood, my innocence, my virginity, my safety, my sense of control. I had to grieve all of that, and someone's telling me not to let it define me. I got worse and worse with eating. I ate terribly, terribly bad food. Got into a relationship with a guy, started doing a little bit better, lost a little weight. He ended up getting married while we were dating. We split up. Shocker. I started dating a guy named... I'm not gonna say his name. Sorry. Let's just call him C-Raz. Yeah, let's call him that. He can take that name. He gave it to himself anyway. And he started fattening me up. He liked girls that were bigger. And we'd go out to eat at like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night. And he'd harass me till I'd eat more and more. He'd take me to Denny's. I'd have to pay, but that's where he wanted to eat. Oh, the abuse with him was bad. It was bad. If you guys ever want me to talk about an abusive relationship that I was in, that one particularly, let me know in the comments below. I will, but I don't want to go into detail with that unless it's been requested, because that is not something easy to talk about. And he nearly destroyed me. So I was with him for 8 months, and then I split up with him. I dumped him about 7 times before it finally took. So I felt single. Like, in my mind, I was with him for like 2 months, and then, no, from September to November, I felt like I was with him, and then he did something in November that, I was done. I was totally destroyed. I'd lost all faith in him. I'd lost all faith in myself. I hated everything about myself and life. And I started to gain weight drastically, and not for him. I started eating. I would do drive-thrus at McDonald's and binge in the middle of my car by myself. Anything I could do to control the food going into my body being my choice and not his. He finally dumped me because I didn't call him at midnight on Valentine's Day, so he called and screamed at me and told me that we were over, and I told him no backsies and hung up the phone. One of my more adult moments. A day later, I actually met the man who I was with for 3 years after, and regardless of the fact that he helped me lose weight, I don't think he did it in the healthiest way possible. I didn't really start eating healthier food. I just started eating less of it, and I lost weight, and I did well. But then after that, I had the pelvic pelvic pain come back again, and my weight skyrocket again. And he dumped me right after, which made me feel glorious. Let me tell you, when you gain about 10 pounds because you can't walk and you're really depressed and low and feeling like you hate yourself, and then the guy that you've been with for 3 years who you thought you were going to marry leaves you, that is self-esteem at its best, guys. Oh, I honestly, I just thought that I'd failed at that point. I thought I was the worst person ever, that I'd gained all that weight back. And I then started therapy. I've now been in it for 2 years, and I've come to terms with a lot, including identifying that I have Anna, who is anorexic, will not eat, and if she does eat, it is a liquid diet, which consists of coffee and water. She has taken diuretics, but not often, because we don't get our hands on them often. And then I have another part who hasn't identified themselves yet, who is a binger and purger. But I've been able to not contact them as conversation goes, but I've been able to be co-conscious with them during the binges and purges. I can't control them, but I have memory of them. So that's a pretty big step. It's scary to be eating, like, so I had a, I'll just share this with you quickly and then I'll be done. I had a night about 6 months ago. No, yeah, about 6 months ago, where my family ordered dinner out, and I usually make the phone call because that's just how it works in my family. And I ordered myself an extra meal. Like, basically, I ordered a meal, and then I ordered myself an extra meal. I ordered myself a large chicken finger, as well as a chicken finger sub. Don't ask me why. I don't know. It got there, and then before I could control anything in my body, and before I knew what was happening, I was upstairs in the upstairs bathroom on the floor with both doors locked with an empty box of chicken fingers and trying to purge. Meaning that within 5 minutes I had eaten a large chicken finger. I just ended up on the floor sobbing uncontrollably. I couldn't control it. I couldn't change anything. I couldn't change the fact that I'd done it. I physically was able to take control of the body after the fact and not purge, which I'm gonna take as a win. I didn't feel well for like 2 days after, but one of the things that I have learned for myself, even if I binge, I need to remember that the next day I still have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I still have to wake up and have water. Like, I still have to put food in my system. I can't just say, oh, I ate 1,800 calories, I'm good. I need to continue to eat. I need to function like a normal human and just keep eating. With healthy options, the next day I will usually try and do lighter foods. So like fruits for lunch, sushi, like fruits for breakfast, sushi for lunch, and then like dinner I'll usually do soup or a sandwich or something, with a lot of veggies. But overall, the only big issue that I have is myself. I'm an emotional eater. Acacia, the host, me. I'm an emotional binge eater. And while I don't go as far as eating a large chicken finger in 5 minutes, if I'm emotionally unstable or upset, I will go through a drive-thru at McDonald's. Even if I don't want the food, I will go there and I will order a 20-piece and eat them all and then feel gross after. But I'll do it, and I won't purge, and I'm really ashamed of that, and maybe saying it out in the open will help me control it a little, but I don't know. So that's one of the things I've been dealing with and coping with, is my binge eating. I've been learning coping skills on how to identify what the emotions are I'm feeling when I binge, when I purge, when I don't eat. It's very hard because I will lose consciousness still as a person with DID. I will lose control, and I will lose control over my mouth and body and food intake, and I will have to just come back and just say, okay, we lost control, we have to start again. And I do that. And I've done it a few times, and I'll keep doing it until I can get past it, but I'm working really hard at it, and I'm very proud of myself for how far I've come and that I can even talk about it. But that is my relationship with food. I love food. I really do, but it's a comfort thing for me. And learning how to manage comfort, pleasure, and success with food is a very difficult thing. So I have two books that have been massive influences in my life, most recently as far as physical body and feelings of emotions. Where are you? There you are. So the first one is Shrill by Lindy West. I myself, as the host, have read this, but I have two other parts who want to read this, so it's still on the TBR pile. This talks a lot about feminism and all that stuff, but it also talks about being plus size and overweight and the self-esteem and stories and the lack of support that goes into that as a girl. I have come to terms with the fact that I am a plus size girl. I'm going to be a plus size girl probably for the rest of my life. It's not something I need to be ashamed of, but I need to learn how to be okay with it. Wasted, you guys were with me when I first read this back in, I don't remember, the mental health awareness readathon, and this changed my life. This opened up my eyes, and it triggered me severely, but it was the thing that kind of triggered me into finally being able to face my own realization that I had gone through these emotional meltdowns and physical breakdowns and food breakdowns, and it changed everything for me. So this is Wasted by Maria Hornbacher, and it's blurbed by Dorothy Allison, who wrote Bastard Out of Carolina, which you guys know that Bones is like my little girl. Like, I love her. I want to protect her for the rest of my life. Dorothy Allison, I have gone out and I am now searching for all of her work because I think she is so fantastic. So her blurbing this stands high and above for me anyway. Anyone who reads this, though, be aware it is extremely triggering and makes you very vulnerable, and it's scary, and it's a hard thing to digest. So please don't do this if you're not there. And then my last one is this, Things No One Will Tell Fat Girls by Jess Baker, and this really helped me do the F you, I'm fat thing, and it really made me feel better. As far as, I think this one was more of a love your body sort of thing, and this helped a lot with that and my own social confidence and feelings of understanding that it's okay that I'm heavier. I think for me, at this point, the two things I want to work on for my own body, I'm very aware of the fat in my chins and cheeks because I see them on film constantly, and I'm very aware of the fact that I have a tummy because it's not abnormal for strangers to walk up to me and ask me what I'm due. So that one I'm dealing with. But overall, I love my body most days. Not really, kind of, yes. It's complicated. I think the only part of my body that I really have a huge problem with is one that I would go into in a different video because it's a totally different conversation. But this one really helped me with my overall just walking proud kind of feeling. And it made a really big difference for me, and I highly recommend it to anyone who is plus size or feeling any body shame, fat, thin, regular, tall, short, fish. If you're a fish, you could read this. So I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna just drop it and leave it there. So, yeah. More serious video. Definitely harder video for me. I'm tired now. I will see you tomorrow with a longer video of tea and myself. This one ended up being hyper long too, but I think it needed to be, because this isn't one that I could sit down and do in 8 minutes. And I'm okay with it. I will see you guys tomorrow with Tanisha, and Then again, I'll see you next week and the next. And you guys, thank you so much for everything. Your support, your love, everything you guys do is incredible. And I'm watching my subscribers continue to build, and that's an incredible feeling. If you feel the need to tell me your own stories, I'll link my email below. If you want to share or chat or anything like that, I'll link my email below. I'm super open. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help, and I'm here to support. That's really all I can do. If you want I'm not even going to offer, like, opinions on how to change your eating disorder because I don't know. I'm just doing what works for me. And it's a hard road, and you're not alone, and you're safe here on this channel. Anything that comes up down below that is nasty, derogatory, rude, or offensive will be deleted, and you guys will not see it as much as I can control unless I can't get to my phone within a normal amount of time, which is rare, but does happen. So, thank you again. I will see you soon. I love you all. Bye.